the Ukraine war, in the West, there's a sort of battle amongst conservatives about whether the right approach is to not appease, but rather get involved and save democracy by defending Ukraine, and that's a kind of against the more isolationist, more like, why are we spending billions on this war? But just I wondered from the Russian perspective if they are seeing it through a sort of World War II prism as well.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing you can't dispute is that when the Cold War ended, Soviet Union becoming Russia again became a lot less important. Like for decades, the big foreign policy question everywhere was U.S. versus USSR. That was the world. Everything was viewed in that vein, right? First, people don't realize when they talk about third world countries, the second world was the Soviet Union and the Soviet satellites. It was the first world, the West, Russia and the satellites, and then third world is everyone else that are poorer. So they have this sense that the fact is the president is shaking hands with Putin. He is kind of, doing in many ways, accommodating Putin. So this gives them a sense of pride and a sense of strength. And you can understand that to some extent.
Do you think that Trump made the right move in doing that in his greeting in Alaska? You're referring to the Alaska meeting.
I mean, even before that, he would speak he would make sure not to criticize Putin. I think my only goal is, here's the thing, there's going to be a compromise. There's going to be appeasement, because I have not heard a single person, even who's the most diehard Ukraine apologist or a defender, I don't want to say apologist, say, we're going to go to Moscow and take out Putin. Putin's getting away with it. Like, he's not getting taken out. So the question is, what are you willing to give? I had Konstantin on my show debating Dave Smith about this issue. And I asked Konstantin, I go, is it your view that if Putin takes over Ukraine, he's going to engage in some kind of genocide or ethnic cleansing? And he's like, no. I go, okay, then at that point you have to compromise. Because unless we're talking about, he's going to invade, just slaughtering people on a mass scale and have some kind of, insane war like genocide, then it's just like, okay, some people are going to be unhappy. There's no scenario where some people aren't going to be unhappy. And at a certain point, because I saw recent polls and I was glad to see this, I thought the Ukrainian people hate the Russian people with good reason. You know what I mean? This goes way back. People can find out about this on themselves. It's not complicated. But the recent polls had a huge...
Going back to the Holodomor.
Way before that, even before that.
Huh.
A big percentage of the Ukrainian people now want the war to end. Because I thought they're like, we're going to fight this till the last man. And I'm like, at a certain point, it's just a Pyrrhic victory. Yes. What's the point of being Ukrainian on a pile of ashes? So I'm hopeful. What I thought would be a good move on Putin's part, because the thing is, everyone has to be able to save face. Everyone has to say that they won, right? That's tricky. If Putin says, I will give back every land except for the Donbass and Crimea, which he's had for a minute now, you get all the rest. In exchange, the U.S. leaves NATO. Great. The U.S. can still partner with NATO at any opportunity. You don't need to formally be a member to work together. The phone calls work, emails work. Ukraine gets peace and no more people being killed. Putin retreats. That, I think, would be an attractive package.
U.S. leaves NATO, yes. Not Ukraine, not to join NATO.
Well, that's a given that the Ukraine's not joining NATO.
Right. Okay. Why do you think? Is that actually? I've never heard that. Is that actually on the cards? Is that?
I heard George Conway, Kellyanne Conway's ex-husband or husband. I remember he's got full-blown TDS, saying, "Watch, Trump's going to say that the U.S. is leaving NATO tonight," and I'm like, that wouldn't actually be a bad bargaining chip for Putin to play, and Trump would bite. I think
it would a huge backlash in America, wouldn't it? No, I guess the MAGA base would be support because they're more isolationist.
There wouldn't be a backlash at all. There would be, but not a big one. Because the point is, if you're not formally in NATO, that doesn't mean I'm never going to work with the NATO countries.
Right.
If the UK is not part of the EU, you still work with them.
Yes, quite. That's the sort of fallacy of these sort of groups. This is the same thing we had when we were debating whether or not to stay in the EU. It's like whether or not, or people were saying World War III was going to start, as if the EU would actually in any way resist that. It's silly. Of course, we can have alliances with people. Yeah. Thanks for watching this clip from the Winston Marshall Show. You can click here to watch the full episode, and for more clips like this one, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, be well.